Hello, world. I'm Chris Pirillo, and you've tuned in to another live edition of the Locker Gnome Daily Report, or TLDR. For short, Jedi is having a very squeaky afternoon. Thank you for tuning in. This is live on the internet. Thank you for joining me. If you are a patron, you are watching live, of course. You get all of TLDR, not just the one question that I answer, because I answer even more questions with the AMA every day after the question, and then I talk about the tech news. So if you like a lot of tech, you're only gaining a part of it. If you're not a patron, you can become a patron by heading over to chrispirillo.com. It's easy to do because I talk tech all the time. Probably too much. Some say I don't talk enough. I say it's just the opposite. I'm usually talking too much about it, including answering today's question for free for everybody. Did Apple ship the new Apple TV too soon? This is a fantastic question. And it's something that really puts me at odds with a few people out there. Because there are those who are severely misguided and unfortunately seemingly lacking experience. When you talk about a new product, it's not just the piece of hardware. Now, the hardware is important. Don't get me wrong. You got to plug something into the wall, right? And of course, the other end into the TV, if we're talking about something that would connect to a TV to allow you to do magical things, or let's assume magical things, because technology is kind of magical. You know, you do this and suddenly magic things happen. That's magical. Do you know everything there is to know about technology? I don't think anybody does. Even the smartest person on the planet doesn't know everything. I tend to fall on the side of software and service in terms of what I appreciate. Though I'm not an engineer, I do appreciate good engineering. I also appreciate good design. Don't get me wrong. The Apple TV the new one, looks like the old Apple TV. This little puck. Looks like a bigger puck, really. You probably saw me unbox it, but subsequently not plug it in because that would have made a long video and a bit of a challenge to do, especially when I shot it live for everybody to tune into, by the way. The thing that is keeping me from recommending an Apple TV for all, the new Apple TV for all, isn't the fact that it doesn't work, because functionally it works. I've long said that one of the bigger values of an Apple TV is the fact that AirPlay exists. It's not a ploy. AirPlay would be something different. Maybe Apple will invent that next. AirPlay works. Effectively, you can mirror your device, your iOS device, like an iPad, iPod Touch, or an iPhone, even a Mac, up to an Apple TV using AirPlay. They re-architected it and made it even better and faster and more awesome. So that's nice. And I'm not saying that that doesn't work. It does. It works better than it did before. And that's great because it's the biggest value that you have going into an Apple TV. I'm not talking about being able to watch your favorite network shows or even, downloading apps. There aren't many of them because Apple just finally got around to making it a possibility for you to be able to install apps on the new Apple TV. Because quite honestly, you can watch network shows on any given box that you plug into the TV. You don't have to spend as much as you would on a new Apple TV, a next-gen Apple TV. The thing that keeps me from recommending the new Apple TV isn't that it's new, isn't that it's more expensive, it's that I think the software is half-baked. It's baked, but it's partially baked. This is what we waited so long for. It just seems like it was pushed out the door. It needed to get out before the holiday season started. Otherwise, they'd be waiting for another cycle. This is the time of year when a new product launches that it becomes key to be in the minds of the consumer. And I admit it, I'm a consumer. I consume all the time. I love I live for consuming. I admit it. I'm not going to, sit here and pretend that I don't. And you know what I love? Red cups. Oh, God, do I love red cups. I want to drink everything I possibly can out of red cups. But red's my favorite color. What else did you... Do you know some people are really angry about red cups? I don't understand. This is nothing really to do with the topic at hand. Did Apple ship the Apple TV too soon? Yes, I think they did. But this is really par for the course. And if you've been listening to me for any degree of time, you know that I've been talking about this consistently for at least 2 to 3 years since the release of iOS 7. Am I angry? I'm not angry. I'm just passionate about talking about this aspect, which it seems that every tech reviewer seems to ignore. Not all of them. not all of them, some of them have taken Apple to task, and rightfully so. It's not just about a piece of hardware. A piece of hardware is nothing without a good piece of software. And I hate to say it, but Apple is so missing the mark in terms of quality control with software. I'm going to give 2 examples. With this new Apple TV that's been in the works for, I'm checking my Apple Watch. Hang on. I've got to wait for it to load. That was a joke, by the way. This was just me gesturing. I'm not really looking up any statistic because I don't know how long Apple had this in development. It seems like it's been at least a week that Apple was developing the software, because they didn't do 2 things, which are kind of critical when it comes to usability of a product that needs you to input a lot of information. And let's face it, there's a lot of information you may need to input when it comes to operating a computer that's plugged into your television. Yes, the Apple TV is a computer. It is. Hardware, software, experience. That's a computer. So you look up the definition if you don't believe me. It doesn't run Photoshop. Well, just because something doesn't run Photoshop doesn't make it a computer. Okay, so now that we've established it's a computer you plug into the TV, if you've got a computer that just doesn't seem to have the features that you would expect it to have to operate without any degree of discomfort, it's not a good experience. And this is something that I thought Apple prided itself in. We make the best experiences. If this is the best experience Apple can provide, wow. Two things. I'm not going to slag Apple for the lack of apps on the Apple TV. I'm not. Because it's not fair. It wouldn't be fair. Because let's face it, in most app stores, 99% of what you can download, you don't want to download. It's not worth it, really. So I'm not going to slag them. I don't care about app count. I don't care. I can play Crossy Road on my iPhone, thank you very much, and my iPad. So the thing I'm going to slag them on, 2 points that I believe tie in directly to usability. The first thing is they didn't even update their remote app. You know, the app that you use to input things and control the Apple TV, the classic Apple TV. Well, that didn't make the translation. Apparently, they thought this was unimportant, completely unimportant, because they expect that you only want, need, or desire this remote, even though it's glass. This is made of glass right there, which is nice until you drop it. Charges by way of lightning, by the way. It's a nice device. It really, this feels very nice in the hand. The problem is, how many characters could exist on a keyboard? How many characters? More than 2, by the way. I don't know if you checked your keyboard lately. More than 2 characters. Possibly even over 100. Possibly. To navigate entering in information with this is cringeworthy. That's something you expect from not Apple. This is something that an Apple enthusiast, a true Apple enthusiast, might slag another company for doing. They would never have made it out the gate if it was any other company apart from Apple. But Apple gets a pass? Why? Because they're Apple? No, I don't believe it. I've begun to mistrust every other tech reviewer out there because they missed the mark. Who cares if it's beautiful? If it doesn't work well, what's the point? And isn't that the whole idea, technology, making your life easier, making it better? So Apple did not update their software, not just on the tvOS, with the Apple TV. I'm talking to their iOS software. The remote app works on the iPad, works on the iPod Touch, in the iPhone. They didn't update it. So forget about inputting your characters that way, right? Can't do it. You got to use this. Why? Because it's glass, it's beautiful. Yeah. Okay, so let's say we can forgive Apple for that, which I don't. I do not. A company that's worth as much as Apple, they've got the resources, they've got the people power to do it. I've had people say, "Well, let's just see how well you do with your own smart device." I'm like, "Hey, dude, I do not have those budgets." That's not my bailiwick, right? Nor do I claim it to be so, right? Yeah, you know what? As soon as I inherit, like, what are they worth now? $1 gazillion? I'll do my best. I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon. So until then, I'm going to explain to you why the Apple TV right now, in the current version of the software that's shipping right now, with a question mark as to when this is going to be enabled. It's not known. That's why it's a question mark. We don't know when the app is going to be updated, nor do we know when Bluetooth keyboard support is going to be enabled. So I had to remove the batteries from this keyboard because Jedi grabs it all the time. She wants to be like Daddy, you know, like typing away. She'd probably write better than me at this stage, but, you know, she uses this keyboard, she plays around with it, there's no batteries associated. I cannot pair this Bluetooth keyboard or any other Bluetooth keyboard to an Apple TV, making character input that much more insane. This is Apple. This is what Apple's become. Put out a new piece of hardware and maybe the software will get better. Oh, man. Time and time again, they're just illustrating how they've got everything backwards. And I know they're doing well. But that still doesn't excuse a lackluster software experience. Or lackluster, if I can enunciate a bit more clearly. That's the word I was trying to trip through there. Hey, what can I say? This was live. This was the question. No, I think that Apple pushed it out not just too soon. They just didn't bake it enough. Like, I would honestly have little to any issues with the new Apple TV because it's not about price. It's about experience. I'm willing to go that route. I love AirPlay. I love what it brings to the table. Always have. Always will. I think it's amazing. It's one thing that really makes Apple TV crucial, especially if you use iOS in your house, home, office, workshop, play shop, wherever you live. And honestly, by the way, I don't care what you choose to use. I don't. I care about you, but I don't care what you choose to use because it's your choice, right? Did anybody force me to upgrade the Apple TV? No, but I wanted to. I was like, oh, this is the interface is better, different, upgraded internals, sets the stage for the future. I didn't realize the software. Well, I should have realized. From the people who brought you iOS 7, 8, and 9 comes tvOS. We don't know when the keyboard's going to be supported. Just, that's okay. You can input to your heart's content here. And all the other bugs. Okay, so, my suggestion, if you need an Apple TV today, go with the previous gen, if you need one. Wait. There's no compelling reason, because I believe this is a massive shortcoming. That's my opinion! Or like the animated GIF. That's my opinion! Have you seen that? It's a Real Housewife, I think. She screams it and it just loops over and over again. So, yeah, my opinion is they pushed it out too soon. The software was not fleshed out. And it is painfully obvious to anybody who understands usability. This is not a usable input method. Apart from going slip, menu, slip, tap. That's it. Entering characters? No! Okay. Okay, Apple, this is how you want to play it. So, Apple. World-class hardware, second-class software. What do you want me to say? I'm not going to make an excuse for them. I think Apple messed up. Again! This is far from the first time I've taken them to task, too. It upsets me when I see a glowing review for an Apple TV, but they've left out this, huge chunk of it. But you only have to input it once. Really? Apparently you have not been trolling the forums. Apparently you've not read about other things. Software is buggy. I'm not slagging them for that. But I question where their head's at in terms of usability, in terms of a cohesive user experience. But this isn't the first time. I don't know who they've got in charge of software quality control. They've given nobody any indication whatsoever as to when the Apple TV is going to become usable. The new one. The old one seems to work fine as it is. And then there's a whole question of, I guess, a mishmash of user experiences because each app operates differently. So you have to figure out how to use each app differently. You know, the old Apple TV, it was a standard thing, right? You had a template you adhered to. So it was easy and you didn't have to muscle memory depending on the app. And they're creating a very disjointed experience. This is not the Apple that I think made the Apple what Apple is today. Okay, I'm better now. I'm feeling like I'm letting it go. They rushed it out the door. Who knows when it's going to be fixed? Don't ever buy a product based on the promise of what it could be. okay? That's a really bad idea. You're not a bad person. You've just made a bad decision. If you buy something with the idea of what it might be, oh, but all it needs is this software release, that may or may not happen. I think it will happen. I just don't know when. No one knows. I don't even know if anybody at Apple knows, honestly. I'm not privy to that information. I know some people think I am, but I'm not. I really am not. So I am done talking about that right now. I've got a list of AMA, some tech questions to answer, including one about video content and Periscope, another one on beta testers, and another one on hardware remote controls, and the list goes on. I've got to answer those tech questions now, and then I'm going to talk about the tech news. There is way more tech news to cover than Apple TV, trust me. That's my Han Solo Harrison Ford impression, trust me. It's the best I can do, really. So I'm going to move on right there. Within this video for patrons, get all access TLDR, even more tech talk, and Chris Pirillo, who may or may not be passionate about the thing that he's covering on any given day. So thank you for listening to what I had to say. Thank you for becoming a patron. Head over to chrispirillo.com to get even more tech talk every single day. Today's free podcast highlight was brought to you by all of my active patrons from chrispirillo.com. If you want access to the full TLDR episodes, both audio, video, past, present, and future, which can be up to an hour long or longer, with even more tech insight from me every weekday, plus other bonus content without ads, and supporting me at the same time, you can sign up to become one of my supernomies too. This is just a brief taste of what I'm producing for you daily. Again, get more through chrispirillo.com.